Something just happened, and it wasn't part of any human plan. What you did, quietly, without an audience, without a single person noticing, started a movement in heaven that caught the angels themselves off guard. I'm not being metaphorical. I'm talking about a recorded fact in the spirit. You don't know it yet, but heaven knows. Stay with me until the very end. Before we're done, I'm going to give you a complete 3-step protocol to help you start operating at the level of what heaven has already registered about you. Let me describe exactly where you are right now. It's not just being tired. It's that heavy space between exhaustion and disorientation. That feeling like you're constantly moving but never actually getting anywhere. It's 4 p.m. on a Wednesday. You've got 3 tabs open on your phone and none of them have the answer you actually need. You've checked the same text thread 4 times today. Not because you're expecting something new, but because you're still trying to make sense of the silence. It's not loneliness. It's that gap between being alone and being invisible. You're in a room full of people, but you feel like nobody sees the weight you're actually carrying. You smiled. You answered the questions. You said the right things. Then you went home, and not a soul knows what's really going on inside. It's not a crisis of faith. It's the tension between doubt and shame. You prayed, you waited, you played by the rules. You stayed quiet when you were supposed to and spoke up when it mattered. And yet, the math still doesn't add up. You can't explain it to yourself anymore without feeling a sting of guilt. It's not fear. It's vigilance fatigue. That constant tension that won't leave your shoulders even when things look fine on the surface. It's like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop before the promise even arrives. And yet, you're still standing. Not because it was easy, but because you chose to stay. And that, exactly that, is what's being discussed right now in a realm you can't see. Hit the like button as your public amen. Heaven records what you confess out in the open, what you thought was weakness. Those times you didn't have the strength to do anything but whisper my name. That is exactly what moved, what needed to be moved. I heard every sigh. I counted every lap you walked around your room when you couldn't sleep. What looked invisible to the world was seen by me. Here is what you're going to discover today. First, the spiritual truth behind what you're feeling. What looks like abandonment in the natural is often the sign that heaven is making a move that cannot be stopped. The silence you're interpreting as absence is actually active protection. Second, a 3-step protocol you can execute today. How to act according to what heaven has recorded without faking it, without forcing gratitude, starting right where you are. Third, a declaration that will resonate tomorrow. Not as motivation, but as a decree. The difference is that motivation depends on your mood. A decree is in effect regardless of how you feel. Don't check out now. What comes next is the part that matters most. I'm going to name what you're going through. Pay attention to the reframe after each one because the way you've been interpreting this might be costing you. Close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath. Now open them, but change your focus. Put the phone down. Look away from any other screens. This won't work if your attention is divided. The first sign is the silence that feels like punishment. You prayed and nothing happened. No confirmation, no immediate peace, no sign. Just silence. This isn't abandonment. God's silence is never abandonment. It's containment. When what is being prepared for you is disproportionately large, heaven cannot reveal it prematurely without destroying the process. You called it being forgotten. It was actually calibration. What feels like silence on your end is intense activity on the other. The second sign is the feeling that you messed something up. That recurring thought that if you had just done it differently, waited longer, spoken sooner, trusted faster, things would be better today. That thought isn't your conscience. It's a distraction tactic. While you're analyzing the past, you aren't receiving what's being deposited right now. What you did was enough. It always was. Guilt that doesn't stem from an actual wrong is a tool of immobilization, not correction. The third sign is urgency disguised as faith. That desperate need to fix it now. See it now. Confirm right now that you weren't a fool for believing. Spiritual rush is often just fear wearing a suit of faith. What heaven is doing behind the scenes requires your peace as an ingredient, not your pressure. Being in a hurry messes up what's being built in the layers you can't see. Faith that requires immediate results to stay faith was conditional from the start. The fourth sign is the 2 a.m. comparison trap. Staring at the ceiling, making a list of everyone who got there before you, who got blessed faster, who seems to be in the right place while you're still waiting. Comparison is proof that you're running the wrong race in your head. You weren't put on the same finish line as anyone else. Your trajectory was architected separately, and what looks like a delay compared to someone else is the exact timing needed for the level of what's reserved for you. You aren't late. You're being prepared. The fifth sign is the move you made without a guarantee. You made a decision, a sacrifice, a choice to trust, without knowing if it would work, without knowing what came next. That right there is what caused the movement. An act of faith without a visible safety net does not go unnoticed in the spirit. You don't know the weight of what you did, but heaven knows. The angels witnessed it. That move without a guarantee was the signature that authenticated everything being prepared for you. The sixth sign is the loyalty that nobody cheered for. You kept going. Most of the time, you weren't happy about it, but you were steady. You woke up again, prayed again, believed again, with no immediate reward, no audience, and no recognition. Faithfulness without an audience is the highest currency in the king's court. What is done in secret without the hope of human recognition creates a debt in heaven, and God pays in proportion to what was delivered in silence. You weren't forgotten because you weren't applauded. You were noticed precisely because you weren't. Type free in the comments if this word is hitting home for you. There was a woman who did something that no one in the room understood at the time. She walked into a room full of men, broke an alabaster jar of expensive perfume, worth an entire year's salary, and poured it over Jesus' head. The disciples were outraged. They called it a waste. They said the money could have gone to the poor. Their logic was perfect, and it was completely wrong. Jesus said something about her that he never said about any other act in his entire ministry. Truly I tell you, wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told, in memory of her. Mary of Bethany didn't plan for eternity. She acted from a place of total surrender, without understanding the moment, without calculating the ROI, without asking for permission. She didn't know that would be the most remembered act of Jesus' ministry. She just did it, and heaven recorded it. In 2004, a musician named Nick Cave was touring Europe. On a cold winter night, he arrived at an 800-seat theater in Poland. Only 300 people had bought tickets, 500 empty seats staring back at him. He played like the place was sold out. He played like every note was for someone who specifically needed that song that night. 20 years later, a journalist interviewed a man who was at that show. The man said that night changed his life. He had walked in thinking about suicide and walked out with a reason to keep going. Nick Cave never knew, but what he did in that empty room resonated for decades. Mary didn't know her moment would be preached globally. The musician didn't know his performance would save a life, but neither of them compromised their delivery because there was no guarantee of an audience. They didn't wait for the applause to be whole. You did something like that too. At some point in this season, you were whole when there was no reason to be. You didn't realize the scale of what you did. But the scale exists. Tell me in the comments who you identify with more, Mary or the musician. Let me stop for a full minute. Let's name what is objectively true so far. You went through cycles that would have justified quitting, and you didn't quit. You acted in silence without knowing you were being watched at a level that transcends the human. You stayed faithful in moments where human logic said to stop, and you made it here, not by accident, not by luck, but because something brought you to this word at this exact moment. And here is who you are in the middle of all this. I didn't bring you this far to abandon you here. Every cycle you survived was part of a formation I was leading, not as punishment, but as construction. What you carried shaped you to carry what I have to give you. No one I use the way I intend to use you gets to this point without being tested at this depth. And you passed. The first identity you carry is the invisible agent. You are someone whose actions in the unseen realm have produced effects you haven't seen in the natural yet. Your origin? You were formed in the absence of recognition. Your process was acting without a guarantee of immediate results. And what this identity authorizes is something very specific. You authorize others to do the same when your story is told. Because the proof that faithfulness in the dark isn't ignored will come through you. Your journey isn't just about you. The second identity is the bearer of the unexpected decree. You didn't just receive a promise, you carried it in conditions that would make most people drop it. Your origin. You were chosen to carry something before you understood the weight. Your process was staying in agreement with what was declared over you, even when reality contradicted it. And what this identity authorizes is that you become living proof that God's promises have a delivery date, not an expiration date. The promise didn't expire. It's just waiting for the right moment to manifest. The third identity, and this is the heart of this message, is the one who surprised heaven. There are human acts that transcend the expected, that go beyond the calculations of any observer. Your origin? You were made with a capacity for surrender that exceeds the expectations of everyone around you. Your process. You acted on that capacity at some point this season, without knowing you were doing it, without an audience, without a calculated return. And what this identity authorizes is that you become a precedent. The kind of move you made is already being used as a reference for what heaven is orchestrating for your next phase. You didn't get here by inertia. You got here because you carry these three identities, and heaven does not ignore them. Write in the comments which of the three identities resonates with you most right now. And if you aren't subscribed to this channel yet, subscribe now, because the next word needs to find you already in position. Now I need to show you something. While I was building this, researching, organizing, testing what is spiritually true and what works in practice, I came across a tool. Not something I developed, something I found. It's called the Miracle Journal, 21 days to unlock withheld blessings. And the mechanism that structures it is the 3-cycle protocol: breaking, cleansing, and taking hold. Because what I've learned, and what this whole message confirms, is that blessings aren't usually delayed. They are withheld. There are specific blocks that standard prayer doesn't always reach. Not because prayer doesn't work, but because certain blocks need a different protocol to be moved. Cycle 1 is the breaking. It identifies and removes the blocks holding back what's already been promised, not the obvious blocks. The invisible ones, the ones that disguise themselves as virtue, patience, or spiritual maturity. Sometimes what looks like wise waiting is a block named faith. Cycle 2 is the cleansing. It clears the space that the block was occupying, because a newly freed space without cleansing attracts the same kind of tenant. You can break the block and be right back in the same spot in 3 weeks if the space isn't treated. Cycle 3 is taking hold. It's not passive receiving, it's active possession of what has already been declared yours. There is a difference between having a right and exercising a right. This cycle teaches you the latter, because a right not exercised is just potential that hasn't been activated. The first bonus is the prayer guide. 15 prayers for specific moments, not generic prayers. Prayers for when you're awake at 3 a.m. and don't know what to ask. For when doubt arrives with logic. For when you need to decree but have no words. Each prayer is for a real situation, not a general feeling. The second bonus is the Psalms Manual. 10 Psalms with the historical context of who wrote them, a meditation on what they mean for you today, and a declaration of faith derived directly from the text. Not for study, for use. The difference matters. Study informs, use transforms. A 43-year-old woman used this protocol on a Tuesday. On the 12th day, she received a call she had been waiting for 2 years. She said what changed wasn't the circumstance. It was that she stopped holding on to what she was supposed to let go of in cycle 2. She didn't know she was holding it. The protocol showed her what she couldn't see from the inside. A 38-year-old man started the protocol at the most disoriented moment of his life. On the 7th day, he said he hadn't seen the external change yet, but the weight he'd been carrying for 3 years was gone. The external change came on the 18th day. He said the 18th day was impossible without the 7th. A 27-year-old woman started on a Friday after watching a video like this one. She said the prayer guide alone was worth it because the prayer for moments of doubt was exactly what she needed to say out loud when she couldn't find the words. Sometimes the tool isn't to change the situation immediately. It's to give you a language for what's happening inside you. And about the investment, I won't tell you the price. I'll tell you what it's worth comparing it to. Less than a coffee and a bagel at the shop every morning this week. Less than an ice cream run on a Saturday evening. Less than a happy meal for the kids on a Friday afternoon. If you felt a hesitation just now, pay attention to that. Because the hesitation that appears the moment an exit ramp is presented has a spiritual name. It's called block resistance. The very mechanism keeping you stuck tries to stop you from accessing the tool that moves it. Hesitation isn't prudence. It's a symptom of the exact problem the protocol solves. You have 7 days. If it doesn't make sense, if you don't feel the shift, you ask for a refund and get it all back. No questions asked, and the bonuses are yours to keep regardless. The guarantee exists because the people who built this knew it works. And they knew the only way to prove it was to take the risk off you. Every week a block remains isn't just a static week. It's a week where what was withheld stays withheld. In a year, if the next 52 days look like the last 52, what are you going to tell your family about what you did when the path was open right in front of you? This isn't pressure. It's clarity about what's at stake for your legacy. The link is in the first pinned comment. Not tomorrow, not after your shower, not after you talk to someone. Now, while what was awakened in this message is still active in you. And what comes next, the free protocol I promised, is the first step of what you're going to practice starting today. This protocol doesn't require you to be okay. It requires you to be present. It's called the Protocol of the 3 Invisible Movements. The first step is naming it out loud. Today, not tomorrow, today, find a moment of silence for at least 2 minutes. And out loud, you are going to name what you did that heaven recorded. You don't have to be eloquent. It can be, I stayed. I didn't quit that night. I moved when I had no guarantee. Out loud matters. What's declared in silence stays in silence. What is declared with your voice enters the realm of confession. And confession has a different spiritual weight than thought. The second step is releasing the wrong timeline. In that same moment of silence, you are going to let go of the expectation of a deadline. Not letting go of the promise. Letting go of the deadline you put on the promise. You're going to say, I release the need to see before I trust. What is mine is already kept. I don't have to grip it for it to arrive. That isn't resignation. It's alignment with the timing of the one who is leading. The third step is an act without an audience. Before you go to sleep tonight, perform one act of generosity, care, or service that no one will see. It can be small. It can be sending a text of gratitude to someone who helped you and you never thanked directly. It can be praying for someone by name who doesn't know you're praying. It can be doing a chore at home that no one will ask who did. The criteria: No audience, no expected return. The sign that the protocol worked isn't euphoria. It's a specific quietness, a feeling that something has settled, that you are no longer fighting something beyond your control. If you feel that, it's the sign. If you don't feel it immediately, repeat it tomorrow. The protocol isn't an event, it's a practice. In the next 72 hours, 3 things will be launched against you. Not as a possibility, as a certainty. The first is rationalization. It will arrive disguised as common sense. A thought that says, it wasn't really what you felt. You were just emotional or tired or wanting to believe. It will try to make what you received today look smaller than it was. Its weapon is edited memory. You will remember the moment with less intensity than you lived it, and that will make the intensity seem fake. The weapon against it is a physical record. Write down what you felt today, right now, before you sleep. What is written cannot be edited by memory. The second is false urgency. It will arrive disguised as responsibility, an emergency, a difficult conversation, a demand that can't wait, all to make the protocol look optional and the movement that started today look like it can be resumed later. Its weapon is inverted priority. You will put what is urgent in the world above what is essential in the spirit. The weapon against it is the awareness that it's coming, because what you don't name surprises you. What you've already named, you choose. The third is strategic comparison. It will arrive disguised as neutral information. You'll see someone who got blessed faster, who seems to be in the same process, but without the same struggle, who apparently didn't need everything you went through. Its weapon is the logic of injustice. If it works for them so easily, why did it have to be so hard for me? The weapon against it is remembering. What was hard for you is proportional to what was destined for you. Easy and light can mean small. Heavy and deep means what's coming needs a foundation that only depth can build. And after the 3 external tactics, the internal enemy will appear. The voice that says you don't deserve what was promised. That there's something in you that invalidates what this message said. That everyone else is fundamentally different from you. That voice lies. And its lie isn't about your past. It's about your identity. You don't defeat that voice with arguments. You defeat it with repeated declaration. With what was said about you out loud. Recorded and repeated until the truth occupies the space the lie tried to take. Write protected in the comments. The decree is sealed. Before you go, I need you to do one thing. If you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting, put both feet flat on the floor. Not crossed. Flat. Like someone occupying the space where they've been placed. Now take one deep breath. Not shallow. A breath that reaches your stomach. As you exhale, let go of the weight of having to prove anything. Let go of the need to convince anyone that what you felt is real. Let go of the version of you that is still trying to earn what has already been given. I know about 4 p.m. on Wednesday with 3 tabs open and no answers. I saw the room where you were, and no one knew what you were carrying. I was there on the nights you stared at the ceiling and made the list of everyone who got there first. And what I felt for you those nights wasn't disappointment. It was the love of a father who sees a child who doesn't yet know the size of what is being prepared for them. What you did without knowing I was watching, started a movement that wasn't in the script of the expected. And now I'm telling you directly, what is yours is kept in my name. And when it arrives, and it will arrive, you will understand why it had to be this way. At this time, through this journey, you are covered, you are seen, you are in motion. You aren't leaving here the same person who walked in. The word that arrived doesn't return empty. It's going to work while you sleep, while you're in traffic, while you're in meetings. It's already moving. Amen. Write done in the comments if this message was for you. And before you close this, think of one person, one specific person, not a group, One person who is carrying something quietly and needs to hear that what they did didn't go invisible in heaven. Forward this to them right now. Not later. Now. And if they want to go deeper, if they want to access the full 21-day protocol, the link is in the first comment, waiting just like it waited for you. The next video is going to reveal something about what happens behind the scenes of God's plan for those who made it this far. Don't miss it. It is done. You are not the same person you were when this started.